3, 2, 1,
Jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun.
yeah.
I'm on vacation. I ain't gotta go to school tomorrow because I'm on vacation. Not at school. Tomorrow. The entire week. Yeah, needless to say, I am jazzed about that. I know. Super jazz handsy. Hi, Ann Brothers. Now, what we wearing on our head there today, Ann Brothers? What do we have here?
Jenny, this is my ode to Thanksgiving. It's pumpkins and gourds with fall foliage.
It's like a cornucopia on your head. That's lovely.
Is. Thanks. I'm going to wear it to Thanksgiving dinner, but I thought, hey, and I'm also going to wear it to work at least one day. So I'm like, I need to get some more mileage out of this. So
Did you buy that or did you make that?
I made it, Jenny Brothers. I made it.
I think, Ann, we should sell those on Etsy or whatever they call that at Betsy on
Etsy.
Ann's Bro Etsy. There we go.
Yeah,
On our Bro Etsy account.
Our Bretsy. Yeah. So
Bretzy,
yes,
yeah, I like it.
I did.
Okay.
So it's amazing. You take a little bit of crap from Michael's and or Joann's, you glue it on a headband and ta-da!
And you have wearable art.
Exactly.
It's lovely. Well done.
Mhm. Well, thank you.
Well done. Yeah, you're ready. You are absolutely ready 100% now. Are you guys are traveling for the holiday.
Yes.
We are staying at home on this end. We will be fielding. Now, I'm cheating this year, and I know it's ironic that I'm going to sit here talking about turkey prep when we're actually buying our turkey pre-made this year, and it's simply because I just don't have extra time in my life. So, yes, we are Barrett Smokehouse will be supplying our turkey. We'll give you a little review of that, the buying process, the ordering process with Silky Smooth, and they've got a lot of stuff. They have turkey, they have all the sides, they have pies from Yoder's down in Centerville. So I know. We're doing the full schmear, if you will.
Good.
So,
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yes, indeed. So
I've been selling at my new job, selling turkeys. Like free range, antibiotic free, fresh turkeys, and they are surprisingly expensive. And some of the people that have bought them seem surprised when they come to pay for them.
They don't say market price, right? They know how much they are a pound.
They are. It depends
right?
on, we have, several different farms, and each farm is slightly different priced, but they're between $7 and $7.75 a pound, which is expensive.
That is expensive.
I'm not saying that they're not inexpensive, but you have to remember these turkeys on Wednesday had an address. So that's how fresh they are. So.
Oh yeah, that's new. That's the new turkey.
It is some new turkeys. So yes. So some people, it's like, hey, they're like, wow, that's an expensive turkey. I'm like,
that turkey had an address. Boy, you just brought it home, Ann. All of a sudden it feels different somehow. I'm like, oh, people he loved.
Yeah, exactly.
Other turkeys he loved. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, since we are here on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we decided we would talk turkey today. So, Ann and I picked kind of our favorite things, and you're going to talk about sort of the side dishes. I'm going to talk about the turkey portion of this because I have a way of making a turkey, and this actually came across. I had somebody that I work with was saying that she struggles with dry turkey. So this episode is for you, Christy. This is your episode today. So there you go.
It's your turkey.
Pay
and
attention. Take notes.
Plenty of time. You have plenty of time to do this.
But you know what? If you have a turkey and it's still in your freezer, get that bitch out right now. You're already late. So get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Safely thawing your turkey in your refrigerator takes days. Don't let them tell you that thing that they put on Facebook that says this days. I'm like, no, it's longer than that. Trust me.
Yeah. You got a 20-pound turkey. That's a lot of turkey to defrost.
Yeah. That's a big deal. So there you go. All right. So then let's go ahead and throw this on the screen.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk about the turkey and all that sort of stuff. But let's go ahead and get started today.
Yay.
Ann, would you like to take us through, or would you like me to take us through the synopsis today?
Either. It doesn't matter to me. You go for it.
Okay, so welcome everybody. We are the Brother Sisters. We're Ann. That's Ann. I am Janice Brothers. Our last name is Brothers. We are sisters. And yes, we would love you to we would love you to be part of our family. That's why we're
Mhm.
here. You're basically an honorary brother sister right now. So we
Congrats.
are in our 50s, which means we are Gen X. Not that we are excluding other generations. It's just this is who we identify with because this is who we are. And that means that when we were growing up, nobody gave a shit about our hydration ever. Like
Not
I went in, no, I went entire days with maybe having 2 sips of water from the water fountain that we all shared, no matter how sick we were.
if it wasn't Kool-Aid, we weren't particularly interested.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny because, we have at our school, we have we have many of those fountains where you can put your whole water bottle and it just drops the water in.
Mhm.
Which is nice. And it's amazing how many, in fact, the other day, one of my guys was like, Miss Brothers, can I go get some water? And I was like, yeah, dude, I care about your hydration. And he just looked at me. Well, and it's funny because I don't, there's basically not a kid that I teach anymore that doesn't have a water bottle either on the
Mhm.
table in front of them or in the bag next to them. Everybody is well hydrated in this generation. And, it's funny because I'm not a natural water drinker. And I think it's because I literally spent my life not drinking anything because
Mhm.
we didn't. And like, you just couldn't, you go ask to get a drink of water and Mrs. Connors would look at you, with some serious side eye, like, what are
Mhm.
you really doing out there? I'm like, honestly, I'm just really thirsty. No, no, you're not. Sit down.
No, you're not. Sit down. You're fine. You can
You're
drink
fine.
after school.
Totally. If you drink now, you're just gonna have to pee, and then where are we at then?
Exactly. Exactly. So, yes, that
Yeah.
is.
Yep. Sorry, I got that hydration thing cracked me up when you
Mhm.
wrote it. So there you go. We on our show we like to talk about smart stuff, dumb stuff, fun stuff, or any combination of the three. And we're not one of those cool, hip, sexy podcasts. We know this because we worry about our finances where retirement is concerned, and we know that we will never be able to retire. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm going to be that old person trying to how to figure out how to use a point of sale system because that's going to be the way it is. So,
Yeah. And there's going to be a 23-year-old trying to teach you how to do it.
yeah, and they're going to be like, "Oh god." They get the super
Oh.
heavy sigh thing because,
Mhm.
I get it. I totally get
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So that's good. So we know that we're not because there's like you have these young cool people that are doing podcasts and they're talking about like edgy cool stuff. We're not that. We're not
Mm-mm.
edgy and cool.
Mm-mm.
So sorry. We are not a celebrity or influence or true crime podcast. We are the Thanksgiving dinner of podcasts. So much good food, so little time. Unlike Thanksgiving dinner, you can enjoy us all year around and you can sit at the kids table with us because that really is where all the action is.
It is.
So, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, because at the kids' table, you get cute plates that are usually like shaped like turkeys, and you
Mhm.
have a tablecloth that you can color that has turkeys on it, and that's why
Mhm.
the kids' table is more fun. So, yeah, in my opinion. All
Mhm.
right, let's see. We are great to listen to when you want to learn things about stuff, and after this episode, your turkey will be amazing every year. That is not untrue, and I will address the whole turkey thing in a little while. We're getting there. This podcast, forewarned, spoiler alert, we are not rated G, PG, or PG-13. We're gonna get all of that shit out before we see our families on Thanksgiving Day. We're gonna do that today.
It's got to go somewhere. Might as
It's
well
got
go
to go
here.
somewhere, and from our mouths to your ear. Sorry,
Mhm.
so earmuffs if you need to. Please join us on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Like, follow, hit the bell, leave us a review, give us your feedback with our questions and answers and our polls, and you can even ask that girl Alexa to play us because she knows who we are.
Mhm.
She knows this shit. Okay, good. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so pretty good. Okay,
Mhm.
let me see. What do we got next? Again, all the things that you can do to see us and share us, you guys. Share us. Tell people that you love that. If you okay, here's what you do. All right, this is a perfect opportunity for you to not have to eat some dry ass turkey this Thanksgiving. Tell the people who you love who are making your turkey to tune in so we can help them with their turkey making skills. So that's
Exactly.
all we're saying. There you
Mhm.
go. All right, let's talk about our smart stuff, dumb stuff, and fun stuff for the week. And start us off.
Well, I did something smart this week. I joined the Chelsea Wellness Center and took my first Zumba class. So, yeah, I've been in a yoga studio for a couple years. I really like yoga, but I felt like I needed to expand my exercising. And in the summer it's not too bad. I do yoga. I go for long walks. That's pretty good. But it's winter is coming, and I've been wanting to like take more classes, but kind of aerobic style classes, get more heartbeats going in a minute, that sort of thing. So the
Nice.
Chelsea Wellness Center is actually a nonprofit in Chelsea, and there's
Ooh,
several different wellness centers that I will now get to go to. It's like a 5 system network in several of the small towns around me. And it's a Jenny Brothers. It's a nice gym. And because of where I work, I got $15 off my monthly membership. I know.
significant.
I know. They have a sauna, a hot tub, and
Ooh.
a steam room. They have showers. They supply you towels.
Ooh, this is a nice place. This is a place that like gives you mouthwash too, probably.
Mouthwash, hair dryers. It's a nice place. And the place where they have like all their gym equipment has 2-story windows. So so it's really tall
Ooh,
and it faces a wooded area near the hospital. So when I went yesterday and when I was on the treadmill, I watched deer.
that's awesome.
I know. I know. So
So, Anne, though, here's my question. What are you going to do now? I'm like, you spent all those years at the Anytime Fitness in Chelsea. What about the UPS man? You abandoned him.
I did. I did. I abandoned him though just before COVID. So I don't.
There you go.
That's been years now.
Uh,
Uh, and-
so, do you want to explain who the UPS man was?
okay, so there was a young man, and he was like probably 20. I don't even. Maybe he was 21, but he was always in the gym when I was there, and I'd usually go in the morning, and he was always there way before I was. Hogging the equipment, hogging all the free weights and stuff, giving people, his expert opinion on what they could do. He was quite the chatty young man. Anyway, he used to wear leggings, and he was well endowed in, you know what I'm saying. He had so anyway, I was like, damn, he has a huge package. And I'm like, oh man, he's the UPS man. He's got a package for you.
A package to deliver to you.
So every morning I'd see the UPS man, and I shouldn't. He was very earnest. He was very earnest.
No,
He would talk about his grilled chicken and vegetable routine, and he was always shaking one of those shakes.
dude, dude, bruh, it's all about the protein, bruh. So there you
Yes.
go.
And he would talk to other, older bras about, because he was like the youngest bra in the building. But yeah, I was like, oh man, I've got to get the fuck out of this gym. So this gym is nicer because there's a big range of people. There's a lot of like people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s that go there, and then a lot of younger people. So the first time I went in there was like, all this age variation. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And when I went there the other day, I'm like, I don't think I hate this place, which is usually how I feel about gyms. And I can't wait to use the sauna. So yeah, I did lock myself out of my locker when I immediately locked myself out of my locker and had to call the front office. And I called the wrong number, called the emergency number. So I was like, yeah, I'm batting 1,000 here, batting a fucking 1,000.
You're
But
the cute
I
little
got,
old lady that's
I
like,
know.
locked myself out of my
I
locker.
can't get in my locker. Hello. So that was
It's
hilarious.
it's an emergency.
They're like, do you call the emergency number? I'm like, well, what else am I supposed to call?
This is an emergency to me.
Exactly. I can't get the fuck out of this building if I can't get my car keys. So
That's awesome.
it was. And I'm
I
like, I
love
was
it.
very proud of myself for not falling down in the Zumba class. So, there was like,
Good job,
anyway,
Ann Brothers.
it was.
Yeah,
It
good
was.
for
Oh,
you.
here's
Wow.
another thing that I thought was interesting. Like the trainers, they have like a half a dozen trainers that work there. They all have to have undergrad degrees in
Okay.
like health and wellness degrees. And some of them even have master's degrees. So I'm like, oh, well, look at that. You know,
That's awesome.
so
So
yeah, it's a pretty cool place. And I was
I
like, yeah,
love it.
look at me doing this smart thing
Good
for
for
myself.
you. Good
Yeah.
job. I know I have to. Our little gym downstairs is in pieces because of the work we're doing to the downstairs. And I'm like, I literally have not worked out in months. I'm like, I'm gonna have to fix that.
Well, Jenny, I have several guest passes. So
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, yeah, we'll get there. All right. Okay, so for me, the dumb thing was that I went and saw Gladiator 2 with my husband. Not that that was dumb. We had a fun night. We went out. We had a great dinner at Social House. We hung out. We talked to some nice people from Western. It was great. But then we saw the movie and it sucked. That's all I'm going to say for now because we're going to review it next week. But I was not entertained. That's all I'm going to say. Don't, yeah. And I'll talk to you about it more. We're going to do like a super duper, what are we calling it? Our movie explosion reviews next week. We're going to be reviewing both Gladiator and um Wicked. So we'll talk more of that. But kind of a good thing is that Joe and I started watching this program on Netflix called The Man Inside with Ted Danson. That is actually really entertaining. I would highly recommend jumping in on that. We're about 3 episodes in, and it's like not the greatest show ever, but it's certainly entertaining. And I think if you have old people in your life, you'll be very entertained by it. I think it hits pretty well to our age group because all of our people are they have crossed over that and kind of into the old person range, and so there's some jokes in there that I think would they hit us hard, and I think like my parents I think would enjoy this show. I think they would be amused by it as well because they're living this life. So there you go. This week's Smart Dumb Fun Stuff Week. All right, Ann, let's get to it. We are 15 plus minutes into the show. Let's talk turkey. Some of our favorite things about Thanksgiving. Hit it, Ann Brothers.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the foods that we eat at Thanksgiving and kind of talk about their origins and how they have, kind of how did we end up with these foods at Thanksgiving? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the turkey. And the turkey has a scientific name. So there's a wild turkey and then the domesticated turkey. So if you see turkeys on, pecking around someplace on, near the side of the road, those are wild turkeys. The domestic turkeys are kind of a big fat white bird, and they're bred to have great big breasts and great big legs and be meat. So they don't live a long time. They're just they don't even usually they get hatched in the spring, and then by November they are dinner. So they don't live a terribly long life. Anyway, but the scientific name for the turkey is Meleagris gallopova, and it is native to America. You're like, oh, I thought it was from Turkey because it's called turkey. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's actually it's a native bird to the Americas. That's one of the reasons why it ended up on the Thanksgiving table, because the Pilgrims came to America and they didn't have enough to eat. So what are you going to eat? Turkey, because
turkey.
That's where turkey came from America. It was domesticated by indigenous people and is what is now central Mexico around 800 BCE, so before Christ epoch. And then also again in another part in the southwest US around 200 BCE. So it actually was domesticated in two different places. There is some evidence that the Mayans of southern Mexico were likely the first group to domesticate it. And not only did they domesticate it for food, but their feathers are beautiful. Wild turkey feathers are gorgeous. They're kind of, you think, oh, it's a brown and black bird, but the feathers are actually kind of iridescent. They're very beautiful. So not only was it used for food, but it was also used as a way to decorate. It was, this is a domesticating birds is not a simple thing. You think about how many birds we have domesticated, and you're like chickens and turkeys, there's just, they fly away, they run away from people and they fly away. Well, here's a couple birds that aren't great flyers, and they don't mind hanging around people because we're messy and we leave a lot of extra food for them. So they were domesticated pretty early. The turkey was brought to Europe and Asia in the 1500s. So that's how it finally made it into the old world. So the world, Europe and Asia, was that it was taken from the United States or from North America and South America into the New World. So Jenny, do you have a question to ask me?
I do, Anne. How did wild turkeys get to be called turkeys?
Well, a lot of people that experienced this bird as food, experienced it through the country of Turkey. So a lot of this, it spread kind of across into England and then into Turkey and then kind of the rest of Europe and Asia. And so it was called based on its destination. So whatever they called,
it was named after the country of Turkey.
It was named after the country of Turkey because that's kind of who was exporting it. you know, and
Well, that's so funny.
isn't that funny? So that's kind of how it
Yeah.
got to be called turkey. And you think about like the Silk Road, and so this was Turkey was a major it was a major import export of European goods to the east and Eastern goods to the west. So it was kind of one of those places where lots of things traveled in and out, and one of the things was turkey, and turkey became a popular thing. It's a very big meaty bird, and unless you're eating swans or something, it's like, hey, so it was just this exotic cool thing from this exotic cool place, so it got called where it came from. Turkey.
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 Well, who'd have thunk? I had no idea, Ann Brothers.
Exactly.
You
So
have
I think a lot
educated me.
some people I think are under the impression that turkeys came from Turkey, and how did it end up in America? It's actually totally an American bird. There you go.
It got named it got named Turkey in a roundabout sort of way. So
Roundabout sort of way. Exactly. So
there you go.
this is my favorite food at Thanksgiving are the potatoes. I loved mashed potatoes and gravy. That's my most favorite food at Thanksgiving. But I wanted to talk about potatoes because I think a lot of people think that potatoes came from Ireland. And so the scientific name for potatoes is Solanum tuberosum, and we're going to talk about the tuber part of that in a minute. But this was first domesticated in southern Peru and northwestern Bolivia, along the Andes Mountains. So this was actually a high altitude food that you could grow, which is tricky. It is tricky to grow food at high altitude. But potatoes were one of them. That's where they came from. So again, this is a natively American food. It made it over to Europe and grew well in Europe. It grows well in tons of places. That's why, and it keeps. If you're in a time and place where there's no refrigeration, potatoes you put them in a dark, cool place, and they'll keep for months. So it's a nutritious food. It's got a lot of carbohydrates in it. Lots of starch. So it's a nutritious food that's easy to grow and keeps for a really long time. So it did really, really well in European countries because it was just so freaking easy to grow. And you could transport it easily. So you could stick it in a ship, in the bottom of a ship, and it would stay pretty good for months and months. So it's just one of
all
those
the way across the pond. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So this was the earliest archaeological verification of the potato is 2500 BCE, but it was probably domesticated almost 8,000 years ago. So we actually have like archaeological data of it, but it's, like I said, it's one of those things that was easy to corn, like we're not quite sure, we think corn was domesticated in Mexico, but we don't have the earliest version of corn. So they're not quite sure how it looked. But potatoes, that's like I said, see how well they keep 2,500 fucking years,
Good job, potatoes. You're the man.
Yeah, so they it's one of those really, and again, if you're going to a party, take potatoes. They're inexpensive and lots of people like them. Now, a lot of people think that when they're eating a potato, they're eating the root, but actually they're eating the stem. So the potato is not, it grows, that's a part of the stem that grows underground. So Jenny, do you have a question to ask me?
I do, Anne. You mentioned earlier that they were a tuber. What's a tuber?
A tuber is a thick stem that grows underground. So that's the part of the potato you're eating. You're eating the tuber part of it, the thick stem that grows underground.
So what are some examples of other tubers out there?
That's a good question because there's other plants that are tubers, but we don't necessarily eat them. We usually, most of the time when we're eating something that's underground, we're usually eating the root. So with sweet potatoes, you're eating the root. With beets, you're eating the part of the root. Other things we eat are like bulbs. But so there are other plants with tubers, but none that I can think of off the top of my head that we eat.
That's cool. We have Linnea is with us. Hi, Linnea. How are you?
Hi,
It's
Linnea.
great to see you. All right. She's made a comment that the Irish liked cultivating potatoes because the food is underground, so their enemies could not come and trample their crops and starve them.
See?
That's a great point. That is a really good point,
Yeah,
Linnea.
it's
Thank
like,
you for sharing that with us.
they set a cornfield or a wheat field or, on fire, but it's real hard to set a potato field on fire. And again, the more you tromp the ground, it doesn't really hurt them as much, a nice thing about, okay, this is another nice thing about a potato. If you cut off, like the eyes of the potato, those are the roots. If you cut one off and bury it, you might end up with another 15 potatoes from that one eye. So, man, it is a
Joe made
food
these really good.
designed to feed big groups of people.
I love it. Joe made little
Yeah.
potato chippy things yesterday. They were delicious. Yeah, you might
Man,
get a homemade potato chip thing. Yeah.
I love potatoes are my favorite food. I don't care how you do it. I love me a potato. Ugh, fingerling potatoes. I fucking love fingerling potatoes.
I love those.
So yeah,
Yeah.
again, uniquely North American, South American food, So of course it ended up on the Pilgrims Thanksgiving table. Everybody has them like, oh, what are we going to feed these dumb white people? I know, potatoes.
Potatoes. Yay.
And the thing
So
is too, you
speaking of
think
sweet
about,
potatoes,
well, I was also going to say, here's a food, the potato. This is in a pretty rugged area where it was first cultivated, but it was easy to transport to other parts of the Americas. So that's why it made it so far, is because, hey, here's a food that's easy to transport, and we can trade it for other things like turkey feathers.
nice.
Mhm. All right. So the sweet potato, this is a Pomoya batatatas. That is the scientific name. And it probably originated in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and the Orinoco River in Venezuela. And I want you to notice something. We keep talking about these origin foods and how a lot of them originated kind of in Mexico into Central and northern southern America. So you could kind of think of this area as our Fertile Crescent. We're like instead of like over kind of we're in oh gosh, in the Middle East, where we have wheat and other grains that started there. You could think of that as kind of starting here. That's where a lot of foods started and then traveled north and south. So again, this is another example of this. Now, a sweet potato, this is a root that we do eat, and it grows in vines. It grows on vines underground. Again, lots of good starch, lots of good sugar, very versatile. They last a really long time. You can store them for a super long time. And again, you plant one single part of it, and the whole thing goes crazy. And you got a bunch of sweet potatoes. Jenny, would you
Yes,
ask
Ann?
me? Do you have a question to ask me?
Yes. What is the difference between a sweet potato and a yam?
That's a very good question, because a lot of people think that they're the same thing, and they're actually two very unique plants. So the sweet potato is a temperate plant, which means it grows in areas that have the 4 seasons. It's higher in sugar, so it's much sweeter. And a yam is actually native to parts of Africa.
I remember taking that in a class and learning that, and I was like, what?
What? Yeah, and it's actually a tropical food, so it's more starchy, not as sweet as a sweet potato. You can kind of bake them in similar ways and do similar things to them. But a lot of what happened really is that a lot of enslaved people who were brought from Africa found a lot of similarities between the yam and the sweet potato. And that's kind of how it gained a lot more popularity in other parts of the country, was that this was considered a food that you would give enslaved people in the South. And then they ended up spreading it across the United States because it was a food that was similar to what they had in their native parts of Africa. So there is a difference between them. You can see here, they kind of look, you're like, oh, they're big, big starchy, things. They're big starchy wads, basically. So you could treat them in a similar way. You can bake them, you can roast them, you want to peel them. They're fairly easy to grow, but And I've grown sweet potatoes in Michigan. So even though, you can grow them just about at any place you grow a potato, yams, you have to be in a tropical area to grow yams. So, and you couldn't grow them here in Michigan because we're a temperate region. So we experience all 4 seasons. So there you go. Sweet potatoes. So again, a sweet potato is one of those things that easy to travel. So it made it all over North and South America, and maybe it was one of the foods at the Pilgrim dinner. Maybe not, but very well likely, because again, you think about this time of year, it's getting cold. It's not like you're going to have a bunch of fresh fruit. You're going to have stuff that lasts.
Well, and I think it was Joe that was telling me even today that as far as nutritional needs, sweet potatoes are very high in vitamin C and vitamin A. So those
Yeah,
are,
and potassium.
a lot of potassium. So you're not getting scurvy if you're dining on sweet potatoes. So
Exactly.
yay, sweet potatoes. So
Yay,
good job,
sweet
Joe Peters.
potatoes. Mhm.
Fun fact.
Fun
I
fact.
like the fact that you referred to them as big starchy wads. You're a big starchy wad, Aaron Brothers. What?
What? Big starchy wad? Exactly. It's like, hey, big starchy wads are what keeps big groups of people alive. So,
Boy, that's the truth. And boy, and if it's not there, as we learned with the potato famine, it really the effects are devastating. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I was going to talk separately about pumpkins and squash, but I'm like, pumpkins are squash. So why don't we just talk about pumpkins, because they are a squash, and you often see squash at holiday Thanksgiving. And an example of a squash is a pumpkin. And we usually, and the nice thing about pumpkins and squash in general is it's a very mild food. So you can do a lot of things to it to have it take on other flavors. Like this time of year, the pumpkin spice latte. Basically, none of those pumpkin spice lattes, like maybe 1% of them have pumpkin in them. Most of them are just spicing. And a lot of what we like about pumpkin is all the spices and the sugar that you add to it, because it takes it on so readily. It's the same with sweet potatoes. It's like, it's not a super flavorful plant, but you can add a bunch of stuff to it and it tastes delicious. So that's nice. It's not very strongly flavored. And most squashes aren't. Most of them are fair. Like there's a spaghetti squash, and you bake that and it comes in like these strings. You add spaghetti sauce to it and voila, it tastes like, spaghetti. And you take, acorn squash or butternut squash, and you cut it in half and you roast it and you drizzle maple syrup all over it. And you're like, this is delicious. And I'm like, of course it is. You just put a bunch of maple syrup on it. So it's a good food. It takes on a lot. You can do a lot with it. It's versatile. There we go. They're versatile. So squash comes from the genus Cucurbita. So that's the genus name of it. And then the pumpkin specifically, it's the one that we use for, and I picked the pie pumpkin. The scientific name for that is Cucurbita pippo. So that's the scientific name for pie pumpkins. Now, if you want, every sort of pumpkin has a different scientific name, but I thought I'd focus on pie pumpkins because those are the ones we usually eat because they have a higher sugar content. So they're more sweet. They're the meat of the pumpkin is easier to use. It's softer. Sometimes those giant pumpkins, they're cool because they're giant. They're not great because they taste good. The squash was domesticated in Mexico about 8,000 years ago. Again, here's another food that's fairly easy to grow. You can get a lot of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients from it. You pair that up with potato or beans, and you've got a complete meal. And if you put corn,
I accidentally grew. Sorry, I interrupted you. I was going to say I accidentally grew pumpkins a couple years ago. So no, I was just saying I had some old pumpkins that I tossed into my garden, and then they just grew, and I accidentally grew pumpkins.
Yeah, no, I accidentally grow pumpkins almost every year, and I was like, oh, there's a pumpkin plant, and I do nothing to it. I don't water it, I don't protect it, and I usually get 2 or 3 pumpkins out of it, and I was like, dang, I didn't even try. So yeah, they're super easy to grow. All squashes are quite easy to grow as long as you have the right one for your region. They're pretty forgiving. Like zucchini is a type of summer squash. pretty soon, you grow a couple, you plant 2 zucchini plants, and pretty soon you're going to be looking for unlocked cars to put extra zucchini in, because it's just everywhere. Super mild, easy to grow, lasts for a long time. Again, back in Mexico, our fertile crescent area.
Awesome. So Linnea, I have good news. All you have to do is just show this episode. You can sit back, relax, enjoy an extra cup of coffee, and I'll try to keep all the swearing to a minimum. So, or you can just bleep that out. So you're welcome.
Yeah, so enjoy. Just to make Linnea's job easier, a couple other foods that came from the Americas that have spread to Europe and Asia, and a lot of people think that are native to those regions. One is tomatoes. Tomatoes are an American food that ended up all across Europe, and the other one is chilies, or hot peppers. Any hot pepper, no matter where it is in the world right now, started in Central and South America. So those are all things that came, and now we think of them as we think tomatoes are Italian. We think a lot of the super spicy stuff that you find in Asia, like in China and other Asian places with really spicy food, like in India. Those all came, all those peppers came from the Americas. It just spread like wildflower, and then that's another thing too, is easily they came domesticated, so all you had to do was keep growing it into the region where you like it, and all of a sudden it seems native. Anyway, so there you go. Nice. Jenny, do you have a question to ask me?
Yes. And why is squash a fruit and not a vegetable?
Well, anything with a seed is considered a fruit. In botany, there are no vegetables. The term vegetable is a culinary term that you find in that chefs use. Basically, they use it to describe a plant food that is not sweet. And then they use fruit to describe a plant food that is sweet or has higher sugar content. But if you are a plant and you have seeds, you are considered a fruit, no matter how sweet or not sweet you are.
Okay, and you ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to say fruit, not a fruit. Tomato.
Fruit.
Avocado.
Fruit.
Apricot.
Fruit.
Because they all have seeds.
Because they all have seeds. So a lot of people think, oh, well, celery, isn't celery a vegetable? No, celery technically is a stem. Isn't asparagus a vegetable? No, asparagus is technically a stem. Isn't a potato, a vegetable? No, it's technically a stem. Is a radish a vegetable? No, it's a root. So, in botany, they don't describe things by, they're not describing, vegetables never used. They're either describing it by how it forms around a seed, or it has seeds in it, or what part of the plant is from. Lettuce is not a vegetable, it's leaves. You're eating the leaves of it. So that's what they're focusing on. So yeah, there you go.
Sexy.
So there you go, Jenny Brothers.
I love it.
Yes. Now we have the cranberries. Now, talk about a food that's you need some vitamin C, cranberries. So, but cranberries are not easy to cultivate. So we have their scientific name, Vaccinium carpon, and it's native to bogs and other wetlands of northeastern North America. And it was first cultivated in Massachusetts. I'm sorry, I put down 1920. It's actually 1820. So that's when it was first cultivated. So, we've been talking about all these foods that were cultivated thousands of years ago, in Mexico or Central or Northern South America. And now we have this food that's it's North America. This is a Northeast American food. And it wasn't cultivated in the Americas until the 1820s, because it's difficult to do. It's you can find it growing wild, but nobody took the time to say, all right, I'm going to create a bog and produce cranberries in my bog. But that's what happened. So, but it didn't happen until in the Americas until well after we became a country. And it was definitely used by indigenous groups, of course, because it's so high in vitamin C. But if you've ever had a cranberry that's unsweetened, it is difficult to eat. because
They are
it's
unpleasant.
unpleasant. So it's like it's not
Yes.
something you use like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna,
Ooh.
we make cranberry juice, but you know how much sugar's in that, so you can like get that shit down.
Yeah, if you've ever had raw cranberry juice, blah.
Bleh.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty gross. So yeah,
it's
so
terrible.
yeah, so it's funny that this food was, but again, it's a food that lasts. And if you're going to a party and the people that you're throwing the party for are starving and probably have scurvy, then cranberries are a great thing to bring because, you know, kind of all my teeth are falling
Hey,
out and
I ate these and I feel better.
then I
Like,
feel
okay,
better.
there you
So you would use them. They were used more as a seasoning, not necessarily something that you would eat. It's like, hey, I got my own little, packet of raisins. Nothing like that. It's not, ooh, cran raisins. Ooh, no. Again, tons of sugar,
so much sugar. And they dry them out, which makes the sugar content go even higher. So,
way higher.
oh.
So yeah, so that's so this was again an American food that has traveled all over the world, and of course it's a joke, that you flop it out of the can, cut it up, But
Your
my
cranberry
sister,
loaf.
a couple years ago, my sister-in-law made a cranberry sauce, and then I was eating it on vanilla ice cream. It was very good.
Nice. Well done, Liz.
Hmm.
Um, it's funny because when I was doing a bike ride across Wisconsin, central Wisconsin actually is a pretty they have a very vibrant cranberry communities in that
Hmm.
neck of the woods. I'm thinking of Toma, Wisconsin. I don't really love that part of Wisconsin, but they do grow them some cranberries over there. So
Yeah,
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 yeah, that's mm,
yeah, it's a thing. We've been able to make it into a thing that, we can definitely process and use, but it was tricky. It's not easy like potatoes. Potatoes are easy. Cranberries are hard.
yeah.
Jenny, do you have a
Yes,
question
and
for me? Mhm.
I do. What's a bog?
Excellent question, Jenny. A bog is a
Thank you.
type of wetland. So you have bogs, and what makes a bog is that that's where you get peat or peat moss. So you have lots of okay, so um, peat moss is you can use it as a source of fuel. It burns really readily because it's full of dead stuff. It's full of
Lots
old
of carbon.
decomposed dinosaurs and such. So it's a type of wetland, and that's the type they grow in is bogs. Swamps are a type of wetland. Fens are a type of wetland. There's another one. I can't remember what the fourth one is, but bogs, swamps, fens. There's another type, and I can't remember. But yeah, there's four types, and this is one of the types. And this is a type where you find peat moss. So not only do you have to have, not only
Marshes.
yeah, marshes, thank you. Not only do cranberries they have to grow in a wetland area, it has to be specifically a bog. So there you
Cool.
go. So we don't have a
There
ton
you
of
go.
bogs in Michigan. We drained them all so we could build houses. But yeah, so you have to have that type of wetland. So there you go for
There
cranberries.
you go. Yeah.
Those are the foods.
Yeah. Four main types of wetlands: marshes, swamps, bogs, fens. I like
Fence.
fen.
Yeah.
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 There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Fun
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
All right. Well, we've danced around it. Now it's time to talk about the turkey.
Hmm.
Uh, so we got in this conversation because Anne is not a turkey lover, and like my favorite part of the meal is the turkey, and Anne's favorite part of the meal is the potato. But Anne actually eats my turkey, so that I
Hmm.
make, which is a
Yeah,
good
it was
sign.
so freaky. I mean, like I went back for seconds. I'm like, I never do that. Turkey's like, all right, I'll take my dry piece of turkey and cover it in gravy. And where's the potatoes?
Yes. So my patron saint of the kitchen is Ina Garden. I have a picture of her. And this started for me. I was watching Barefoot Contessa at my mom's house. This was like 15 years ago. And she was doing a Thanksgiving special where she was like preparing a bunch of her Thanksgiving foods. And I was watching her prep her turkey, and it made me all misty a little bit, made me want to cry a little bit because it looked so good. So then when we first moved back here, I decided I was going to do this turkey. And so I did my research. I watched Alton Brown. I watched Ina Garten, and I was ready to prepare my turkey. And I got to tell you, I pretty much crushed it and have been
Hmm.
crushing it every year ever since. So
Hmm.
let's talk about what's the big deal. So disclaimer, I'm going to just say this right now. This is how I do my turkey. Don't have a meltdown because it's not the way you do your turkey. Okay, you do you. Do whatever the fuck you want. It's your fucking turkey. Okay, so just chill. Because you start talking about the way you do your turkey, and people are like, oh no, that's not the way to do it because of this and whatever. I don't care. Do what you like. But like I said, this is I have made this turkey a number of times, and it has been very successful in terms of its both reception and it's good, it tastes good, it's delicious. So if you want to try it out, great. And if you don't, by all means, enjoy your dry ass turkey. Okay, so first let's talk about why your turkey is dry. Because it's supposed to. Okay, number one, a turkey itself is about 75% water because it's an organic being. But you also have to remember that, most turkeys, the average size turkey, I want to say, is like 16 pounds. So when you cook a 16-pound turkey, it's got to be in your 325-degree oven or 300-degree oven or however long you do it for a long time. And as a result of that, most of the water in the turkey vaporizes out of the turkey. So you end up with this dry turkey. Okay. And that's not brain surgery. That's just, this is what happens when you heat water to 300 degrees. And there you go. Okay. So the solution to that is you got to brine that bitch, brine your turkey. So it's not brain surgery, it's brining, as I would learn. So this is why. So what does it mean to brine a turkey? When you're brining your turkey, what it means, you're going to soak your turkey in a saltwater solution for anywhere to 24 to 36 hours prior to cooking your turkey. And you might be saying, well, why should I do that? And the answer is you submerge turkey in salt water. What you're doing is you're coaxing more water into the tissue of the turkey through the process of osmosis. Yay!
Yay!
Osmosis! Osmosis! Osmosis. So let's talk about what that means. Okay, so um, your cells are made of the outside of your cell is made of a semi-permeable membrane. So osmosis is the movement of water molecules across that cell membrane from a system of a higher concentration of molecules towards a lower system of molecules, and that's known as passive transport. And it's nice because it doesn't require energy to do it. All it requires is a concentration, the gradient that moves from high to low. And that's pretty much the way everything works in nature, whether it's energy, whether it's concentration gradients. Energy always moves from systems of high energy to low energy. And it just so happens that in diffusion, osmosis, which is a type of diffusion, when you have tiny particles of stuff, they move from concentrations to higher concentrations to lower concentrations. So when you are submerging your turkey into your bucket of, so when you make a brine, you basically take a cup of salt and water and other fun things, and you stir it up, you put your turkey in it, fill that the rest of the way with water, so that your bucket of water has a much higher concentration of water molecules in it, even if there's some salt in it, compared to the turkey. So that water is going to flow into the turkey, and you know, so the bucket has a higher concentration. So when the salt is added, the salt crosses the membrane with the water into the turkey. And then what the salt does is it opens the tissue of the turkey even wider and allows more water to get in. So the water is going to come in anyway, but by adding salt, it, like I said, causes that tissue to expand even more, allowing even more water to go in, so that your turkey now will have an excess of water. So when it's in the oven, and it's in that oven for 3 hours or 3.5 hours or however long it's in your oven, much of the water will evaporate off like it always does. But because now you have an excess of water, there's still plenty of water left in the turkey so that you can have you a nice juicy bird. So here's the picture um, of osmosis happening. So the picture, the part of the picture on the right is your brining solution. The blue represents the water, the white represents the salt particles, and on the left is what your water particles look like within your turkey. So that's osmosis doing its thing, bringing more water into your turkey. So that's the first most important step. Okay. So again, it's science, bitch. Let's go. So it's just one of those things, and you have to be one of the things that if you've never brined a turkey before, there's certain things that you have to think about and do. So that's what this next part. I'm just talking to you about how to brine and prep your turkey. So here it is. Okay, certain things to know and do before you brine your turkey is that you need to make sure that your turkey is completely thawed because just because your turkey is sitting in water doesn't mean it's going to thaw any faster. And we'll kind of talk about why in a minute. So your turkey needs to be completely thawed. The guts package needs to be removed. If you've never dealt with, if this is your first time dealing with turkey, just know your turkey's going to come with a couple of different openings. One in the front where the head used to be, and one in the back. And in the front, you're going to find the neck. So you got to dig after it thaws. You got to dig the neck out of the front, and you got to dig the package of guts out of the back end. So you can't do that until your turkey thaws because they're frozen in there. So you're going to want to make sure that your turkey's nice and thawed. So remove the neck. Actually, you can just leave the neck in there because that's going to brine too, but remove the guts package. So note, if you've not started thawing your turkey in your fridge, you're going to need to get started, and you're probably going to have to do some back and forth between thawing it on the counter and thawing it in the fridge. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say you've got to thaw it in the fridge the whole time. You don't, but you have to be very careful that if you're thawing it outside the fridge, that you need to make sure that you're moving it back to the fridge fairly regularly, because you want to make sure that the bird is not growing bacteria on it. That's what when you get food poisoning, it's because you're eating bacteria of some sort. It's probably E. coli. Oops, but you can also just pick up other bacteria. So just know that. So there
But
you go. But
sorry.
exactly. Okay, so your turkey's thawed. All the stuff is out that needs to be out. It's been safely thawed. So now it's time for you to get a big ass receptacle. So normally what I do is I get myself a new 5-gallon bucket every year, and I clean it out, sanitize it really well. Make sure you have a lid to go with it. Okay. You need something big enough that's going to hold a big turkey. Now, like I said, the average size turkey is about 16 to 20 pounds. We don't have a super big family, so I usually hover around anywhere between a 15 and 20-pound turkey. This recipe works just fine for that. So get your big bucket with a lid, and let's talk about stuff that you will need for your brine. Your brine consists of a head of garlic that's peeled and smashed, um, teaspoon or tablespoon of rosemary leaves, tablespoon of thyme, tablespoon of sage, and I like to use fresh for all of those. You can get the dried spices, which works perfectly well, but I think you get a little bit more better kind of infusion if you're using the fresh stuff. You need a cup of kosher salt, half a cup of brown sugar, some maybe a tablespoon of black peppercorns. I usually crush mine up before I put them into the brine. If you have like a mortar and pestle, if not, a plastic baggie and a hammer works just as well. So that's a thing too. And then you want at least a gallon of a half of water. That kind of depends. You're also going to slice up an onion and put that in there as well. So there's lots of different flavors and aromas and yummy things that are going into that brine. It's not just salt water. You can do just salt water and it will work perfectly fine, but these are just ways of infusing other little flavors in there. So when you are putting your turkey in your brine, start by putting your kosher salt in the bucket and use nice hot water, and stir as you add that water, because you want to dissolve that salt as much as possible before you put anything else. So dissolve your salt in your warm water, you're only going to put like maybe 3 inches or so of water into that bucket, that nice hot water. So then once you get it nice and dissolved, throw all of your ingredients that I just talked about in there. Then put your turkey in. So you're going to grab your turkey by its legs. You're going to drop it in head first, even though I know there's not a head.
Where the head was first.
Where the head used to be first.
Mhm.
And then you're going to add more water. You're going to add enough water. Normally what I do is I add enough water to cover about half the turkey. Then I start throwing in some ice. Then I throw in more water, because you want your water and ice level to be above the turkey. You want to make sure that that whole bird is getting submerged. And then you're going to top it off with more ice. So again, add enough water and ice so that your turkey is fully submerged in the brining solution. Add more ice to it. And the reason that ice is so important is because if you're like me, I don't have refrigerator space to keep a bird in brine in my refrigerator for 24 to 36 hours. So I end up keeping my bucket outside. So I brine it up really good. I ice it up really good because I want to make sure to keep that temperature. A safe temperature is, I believe, 40 degrees. 42 degrees is considered safe temperature, 42 degrees and below in a refrigerator. If it gets above that, you're going into what's called the temperature danger zone, which is the temperature at which bacteria can start to grow. The nice thing is that if you have that turkey in salt water with tons of ice packed in it and you've got it covered, your water solution is going to be damn near close to freezing. It'll probably only be about maybe 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's because that ice waters, it's making a nice saltwater solution, which is actually colder than freezing temperature if you're doing it properly. And again, so your bird's not going to thaw. That's why it's important to have a thawed bird at this point. And that's why you're going to inhibit that bacteria from growing. And so even though you're have it outside, and the nice thing is this time of year, it's pretty chilly outside anyway, so you don't have to worry about that ice. Like if I ice up my bird that first night, I usually don't have to re-ice it again because A, that solution is so cold, and B, it's cold outside, so it works out. Now, I usually start my brining process Tuesday night. So here we are. Thanksgiving is Thursday. I put my turkey in the brine Tuesday evening, and so mine usually brines for about 36 hours. But you can just do it for 24 hours, and it will still work great. So and then I keep it kind of close to my door. I usually go in and check on it. I make sure to kind of cover it with something so, if there's critters out there, they're not going to, clean it so that, I've never ever had a problem with some critter being like, "Hey, I love turkey." So you just have to make sure everything's sanitized and that sort of thing. Okay, so here's Thursday. I usually get up fairly early in the morning on Thursday. You want to make sure, because then it's time to start prepping your turkey. So you want to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time. You want to give yourself 60 to 90 minutes to prep your turkey before you stick it in the oven. So this is sort of what I did before was kind of Alton Brown's process for brining a turkey. Now we're doing Ina Garten's process for making your turkey. So get your turkey out of the brine. I'll usually pull it out of the brine. I'll do it outside. And I'll just pull that thing out and drop it onto a big old cookie sheet, and then I'll walk it into the house. And you're gonna want to make sure to take paper towels to it and just make sure it's nice and dry. You don't want to try and butter up a wet turkey. So dab off as much of the water as you possibly can. If there's water in the cracks, dump out that. Pull the neck out of the turkey now and make sure it's nice and dry. Um, so then after that, you can start the rest of the prep. So get it nice and dry, and then you're going to go through the next phase. Look how beautiful she is. Ina Garten is my princess, and
Uh-huh.
someday, if I'm lucky, I'll get to have dinner with her, and I'll have
Mm-hmm.
lots of questions for her about what
Mm-hmm.
she used to do before she was the Barefoot Contessa, because the woman has lived an interesting existence, that's for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So anyway, my bad. I got off enough. All right. So again, disclaimer: this is how I do my turkey. Choose to ignore it if you want, or keep watching because it's that good. Okay, wait. All right, so what I do here is I'm going to go ahead and share this little document here because this is my process. I'm going to share this. Can you see it okay, Ann Brothers?
Yeah, I can
Oh,
see it.
there it is. Yeah. So you probably can't see it, but so what I do is I make a butter spread. So you take 2 sticks of really good butter. In fact, I usually just take, 2 of the big things of Kerrygold butter, because Kerrygold butter is so far superior to any other butter on the planet. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I just really like, as far as butters you can get here in the States, Kerrygold's yummy. So take a couple of big things of that, make sure it's soft, stick it in a bowl, juice a lemon on top of it, add a tablespoon of thyme and a tablespoon of sage, some rosemary, and a tablespoon or teaspoon of kosher salt, not a tablespoon, sorry, teaspoon. Mix all that up. So you've got this really great butter paste with all this yummy stuff in it. And then what you're going to do, you are going to get under the skin of the turkey. So if you're super careful, because you don't want to tear the skin, I usually put on a pair of rubber gloves and actually butter up the gloves ahead of time. And then what you do is you kind of slowly work your way. I start with the neck portion, and you slowly work your way up under the skin, making sure to be super patient and not tear it. You're essentially, um, you know, separating the skin from the meat of the turkey. Do that, and then what you do is you take handfuls of that awesome butter that you've made, and you just rub that all over the inside of the turkey. So the breast area, you do it towards the back end of it. You try to get, in the legs, and just coat that baby inside and then outside with butter. And then in the back crevice, the 2 crevices, the neck area and the back end of the turkey, you're going to quarter a lemon, quarter some garlic, quarter an onion, and put those things in there. You want to preheat your oven to 500 degrees. I know that sounds super scary, but do it. And then you're going to get your turkey on into your big pan with the little, the little wire tray that it sits on. Get that into the oven, and you're going to cook it at 500 degrees for 15 minutes. And then you're going to turn your oven down to 325. So after that 15 minutes, bring that temperature down to 325, and then you're going to cook it for the next 2.5 to 3 hours, or until your turkey breast temperature is 160 degrees. Every 30 minutes, you want to be popping that baby open. You want to be basting that turkey with that butter, all those butter, fat, and butter drippings that are coming from the turkey. Um, Once your turkey is cooked, you're going to tent it. And don't even start my mom about tenting the turkey, because you're going to get an earful if you don't tent that motherfucker, okay?
You tarp it, Jenny. You don't tent it. You tarp it.
Right. Sorry, my bad. You got to
Mhm,
tarp the turkey. If you're tenting it, Cynthia's going to give you an earful.
mhm,
So, and essentially what's happening at that point is after you take the turkey out of the oven and you tarp it or tent it,
mhm.
whatever. You need to do that for at least 20 minutes, because what you're doing is you're letting that turkey rest. So it's anything that's kind of out on the surface, it reabsorbs that moisture that's kind of on the outside waiting for you, and it basically is
It
delicious.
is.
So
It's
there
so
you go.
freaking good. And my favorite part of the turkey is the skin. And it doesn't matter to me if it's crispy or soggy skin. I just like that part of the turkey the best. Man, the skin on that turkey is so fucking good.
It is, because, and that's what you're basically crisping it right away. As soon as you stick it
Mhm.
into that 500-degree oven, it's like, yeah, let's go. And so it does. It gets a nice brown on it right off the bat, and then it just gets more golden from there. So,
The
yeah,
last
I've
time,
done this.
yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
last time Jenny made a turkey, there was no leftovers. We devoured that bird. I mean, I have never been in a house where like there was a 20-pound turkey and there was nothing left.
Yeah. It's good, and it's,
Mhm,
and I love doing it. I'm actually a little bit sad. We were doing some shopping today, and I was a little sad that I wasn't doing turkey this year, because, I'm taking some extra classes and stuff this year, and I just didn't have the time to commit to doing, because it's a process. You
mhm,
really,
mhm.
you have to plan, you have to time everything out. I'm still going to make some stuffing, and we're still going to do our own potatoes and stuff, but I do feel a little bit. I'm like, I might actually buy a turkey later and just do it because I love it so much.
So
so
good.
so yeah, and
Ooh,
it's just
Jenny,
it's good.
January turkey.
Oh, in the depths of
Mhm,
winter when you just want some turkey. Okay.
mhm,
Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll buy a turkey and just throw it in the
mhm,
freezer and just have it for, because turkey prices right now are good. So this is
mhm,
this is the time of year to get you a turkey. So, but yeah, it's delicious and it's fun, and I Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays, simply because I like the camaraderie of it.
mhm.
I think it's fun.
It
So
is
there
fun.
you go.
It is.
Yeah, dude, we just crushed that hour, and look at us go.
I
Holy
know.
moly.
Who knew that we could
So
talk about food for a full fucking hour? Oh, we did.
dude. Oh yeah, no problem. So yeah, anyway, thank you for spending another hour with us where you learned things about stuff with the brother sisters. This week, you guys, we talked turkey and we talked Thanksgiving foods, and took us through the history of some of our favorite foods like squash and potatoes and pumpkins and cranberries, and a little bit of history of the bird, and how all this stuff is, basically native to the Americas, which is
Mhm,
awesome. And that even though these things have been scattered all over the world, they came from here. I
mhm,
talked to you about prepping your turkey. If you've never made a turkey before, this is for you. If you've made a turkey and you've had some dry problems in the past,
mhm,
yeah, the extra step of brining, it's not that tough, and it does wonders for your bird. So,
mhm.
and then again, the whole buttering thing with the skin is just really good.
So,
Yeah,
so amazingly good.
it's freaking delicious.
Mhm,
So anyway, we would love it if you joined us next week. You can always, tell your people to enjoy us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. You can find us all over the place. We're everywhere. And yet,
we're
we're
just
not
right.
oversaturated. We're also right
Exactly.
here. So
We're
yeah.
also just right here.
Just right here. Just right here, doing our thing. So
Mhm,
yeah, so join us on that next week, you guys. We are going to be we weren't quite sure what we're doing. We're pretty sure we're going to be reviewing some movies next week. So
mhm,
we are looking to talk about more about Gladiator and also Wicked. We may or may not have entertainment expert Chip Maley with us. We're still figuring out some schedules and stuff, but these are the two big, hot, heavy movies that are out right now. So we're going to talk about those things. Um, yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
it's been a full week, and it's going to be a busy full week. But we're not going to leave you. We're going to let everybody enjoy their Thanksgiving, and then
Mhm,
we're going to do it as well.
yeah.
So anyway, until then, until next week, you guys. I am Janice Brothers, and with me is my sister.
And brothers.
That's correct. And we want you to get out there. We want you to get out there and do something smart or do something fun. We are out of here.
Bye.
Again, this is the Ballad of the Brother Sisters by Mad Max Caselli. All right, guys, peace out.